Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk, and I think it's about time we actually finished the my pad-80 project. I've actually done a fair bit of work off camera getting to here actually. I did, as you can see, completely stripped down the dead my pad-80, and actually I learned quite a lot which is going to be useful from that. We'll go through that in a little bit anyway. So I know, yeah, I was a bit of a silly bugger actually killing the original one of these, but it wasn't a sacrifice in vain, because I did actually learn, like I say, I learned quite a lot about what I can do by doing that. Like example, that switch there, when I actually removed it, I found out it is actually a push to make switch. So it does actually probably interrupt a reset line on the processor in there. So I have instigated a proper reset switch on the back of the unit to take advantage of that, which means I could use one of them standard push to make switches I already had. I've also figured out what I need to do with the video socket there, because like I said, this thing is actually designed to be a pocket torch as well as a games console. And just taking that switch off would actually put it into its pocket torch kind of mode, but taking it off, be able to meter the back of the actual socket that I took off there, I figured out where the switch was and we can bypass that and whatever. That's not a problem. Like I say again, we'll go into that in a second. Also, like where the controller was there, I actually had to do some work to the microswitch joystick there to get that to work with how this is implemented, because it appears there isn't a common ground between the left and right and up and down as there is on this control stick here. So I've actually had to modify that control stick to work more like the original controller here worked. Basically what I've had to do, I'll show you around some of the extra work that I've done to the box. As you can see, we now have a nice big red reset on the back, so instead of having to switch it off and back on, or as I was originally going to do, I was going to put a push to brake switch there. I mean, very, very crude, but it'd literally just interrupt the power, and that obviously would reset the console. But as like I say, as I found out there is actually a reset line on there that we can access, I was able to use a push to make switch like that, and we can have a proper reset on the thing. Underneath it's pretty much as it was, turn it round. Underneath it pretty much is as it was before, apart from I have wired all these switches in on a little bit of a loom. I know some people said about why not use proper connectors so you can change the buttons out, and yeah, I mean, you could do it that way, but it's no matter at all really just to heat the soldering iron up and just desolder. Because I mean, possibly I'm quite happy with that microswitch joystick, but I mean, these buttons, people said it, and yeah, I agree with them, they are really, really cheap, nasty buttons. They haven't got a terrible, horrible feel on them, but they are really, really cheap buttons. But I mean, that's something, if I end up using this a lot, which I don't know, it depends how much I decide to play Mario, I could always upgrade them in the future to something nicer and micro switched, and it would be no problem at all just to desolder and perhaps put connectors on the end of that loom I've already made up there. So at the moment I'm quite happy with the way I've actually done that. The controller, however, like I said, I've had to modify the actual board that the microswitches mount on. I mean, this is a cheap microswitch joystick designed for, you know, arcade use and building your own sticks and what have you. On the more expensive ones, each microswitch actually comes out and you connect your wires to the microswitch. On this, there's a little printed circuit board that's got the microswitches soldered to it, and then obviously it comes out on that little connector there, which is fine. The problem was, like I said, I had to modify this, so I had two grounds. Basically what I've had to do is I've had to split the grounds, so up and down have a ground. So you've got up, ground, down, and left and right's the same. You have your left, ground, right. What I've done, if you look at this little grey wire that's soldered on there, that's the second ground. So we've got a black ground, and then the secondary ground is it's actually just soldered on to the common post on that micro switch there, because that was the easiest point to actually solder it to. Now what I've done, I don't want to take all that out. They are a bit of a faff to get apart, those. You've got four, basically you've got four plastic posts that hold that black plastic piece on, and you have to spread all four little posts apart, and that'll actually unclip, and then the whole circuit board just lifts out. I don't know how many times you could do that before you risk actually breaking one of those posts off, and then obviously, you know, it's had it. I don't think you'll be able to glue it back. So I don't really want to have to take that back off again. But what I did do is I took a photograph of it on my phone, just so I could show you what I basically had to do. Now, can we see that there? You can see that's basically the circuit board out of the switch controller, and all I've done is cut the tracks on the grounds and, like I said, rewire them so left and right have their own ground and up and down have their own ground. Quite simple to do, really. I used a nice thin hookup wire, so when I actually put it all back together, those wires don't interfere with anything inside there, so that it should now be compatible with that circuit there. Unfortunately, the other day in the post, my replacement my pad-80 arrived. Now, the original my pad-80, and the whole point behind this video is that controller cost about £3. And I mean, I bought it from China. I had to wait about 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks for it to arrive. This one I actually got from a UK seller, so I had to pay a bit more for it. I think it was £8 delivered, so we're not exactly talking breaking the bank money. But it's actually a bit of a, well, from a packaging point of view, it's a bit of a posher product. I mean, the original one I bought just come in a little cardboard box about the size of the pad like that, with an instruction manual shoved in it, and it was the cheapest, nastiest cardboard you've ever seen. Have you seen my unboxing video? I think I showed the box in the unboxing video I did when I started this project all that time ago. Obviously this is coming a bit more of a posher packaging, but I don't think this packaging is worth like £5. We'll get in here, we'll see, make sure that this thing actually works. I'm not going to just tear into this thing. We'll actually fire it up on the screen and just make sure it does actually function before we start taking it all apart. We've got obviously some accessories in there that should have the AV cable in, I think. We've got the, I'll put that in the bin after. We've got the my pad-80 itself. Like I say, it's exactly the same as the one we started out with, albeit it's a slightly, it's a different colour. It's a two-tone actually. It's orange, yellow on the back, and blue on the front. But we don't really care about that. We're not using the case. Exactly the same. AAA battery. In fact, I think I've got the battery from somewhere on here. What have I done with it? Ah, there it is. I've got the battery from the previous my pad-80, so at least we can use that for testing, because this battery does work. We'll stick that in there. Let's see if its torch function works. Yes, it works as a torch. How many games consoles are also a keyring and also a torch? But yeah, that does indeed seem to work. Let's just make sure that we cut up the other AV cable, if you remember, while we was testing. But we've got Yeah, it's exactly the same instruction sheet as I got with the original one, and the same, actually, a slightly better quality AV cable, because the one that we got with the original one was terrible quality. This is only slightly terrible quality. So they've obviously upgraded their cables. It's about the same length. I'll drop you down so you can see the test monitor, and we'll just make sure this thing works. I'll get you up on the test monitor like that. Hopefully you can see that okay. Switch that on. Shove them in there. And connect the my pad-80 up. Let's switch on and see what happens. That is in, isn't it? Oh, there we are. Yeah, it seems to work just as well as the other one. Let's start. Yeah, it's got exactly the same as the other one. I think the picture might be ever so slightly better. I don't know. No, it's still pretty awful. I think that is down to the AV cable, actually. I'm hoping it is, anyway. Anyway, I'll stop playing Mario now. So yeah, we've ascertained it works. So I'll just pause the video, reset the camera, and we'll start making this be part of this. So back in a sec. Right, that's better. I've got you on the bench so you can actually see what I'm doing. I suppose the first thing we're going to do is take this thing apart. At least now we know that it actually works properly. We'll disassemble it. 'Cause basically, we want to get it down to look like that. That's really the state that we want it in. Let's pop that control off there. And I will be keeping, I'll be keeping these because I'm sure they'll come in handy for future projects. So it's quite a nice little thumbstick that. Sure it's not up to your PS4 or PS5 standard, but it's still a nice little thumbstick. I'm sure I'll come up with another use for them. Well, let's get this one apart. So I'm sure, apart from the colour, it's going to be identical inside. At least I hope it's identical inside. Right, let's have a. Let's have a look. So we can get these screws out. Oh, I need something longer than them. Just bear with me a second, folks. I just need to go and find a different screwdriver. Okay, sorry about that, folks. I found something. Actually, even this is a little on the big side, but at least I can get it in there and unscrew them. And to be honest, we're not really mad. We beggar the case up, are we? We don't care about the case. Yeah, if you push it in, you can get to the screws with that. I don't know where what's happened to the screwdriver I used previously. I think we've got that one, have we? I think that's undone. Yeah, there we go, that's 2 screws out. Put them to one side. That won't come out easier. This is your typical really cheap, nasty plastic you always find on this cheap Chinese stuff. they've just put a nice, I think that's a spray coating. I think they, you know, I think they've literally just sprayed the plastic for that. That one doesn't seem to be coming out. What is it? Yeah, I think, yeah, it's just sprayed plastic. Right, hopefully we can get this apart now and not do any damage. There we go. There's no screw in there. That screw hasn't come out from there. Let's give that another go. I think we got it that time. Yeah, there we go. That's out. Now it should come. There we go. Let's have a look inside. And it's exactly the same thing. Yeah. Lovely. That's what we wanted to know. Well, that's what we wanted to see. So yeah, it's exactly the same board. So let's get this out of here. We'll keep that there. That's a bit big. I wonder if this is a better fit. Yeah, that fits better. Take these screws out. And there's one there. I thought there was 3. There we go. We'll get rid of all the bits we don't want. Right, now basically we've got to make that board look like that board. So we want to take that AV jack off there, we want to take that reset switch off there, we'll take those 2 contacts off, and we want to take the joystick off from there. I think we'll start with the soldering iron, and we'll get these 2 spring contacts for the battery off. And then we'll get the joystick out of there, and then we'll swap over to the hot air and get the AV connector off there, and get that switch off there. I did get the switch off that one using the soldering iron, but like I said, I wasn't too worried about damaging the board. I more wanted to get the switch off in one piece so I could test whether it was a push to make or a push to break switch. This one, like I said, I'm more caring about the board, so I think I'll use hot air. Like I said, I don't mind whether I melt the switch. That I took that off on the old board with hot air, and I know that is okay with hot air. That, however, I did heat it up with hot air after I'd got it off, and it melted. So I know that it will damage it that way. Like I say, I'm not minded about the switch, but I definitely don't want to damage the board. Well, we might as well get started. We'll get the old soldering iron in first. I am wearing my anti-static. I mean, only reason being that, like I said, I've got things like the flash RAM there. I don't want to risk frying another of these boards if I can help it. So, you know, you might as well take precautions if you've got them. Right, there we go, that's the negative connection off. And obviously we're doing this because we're going to be connecting wires to the alternative battery that I'm using. So we don't need these springs in place, that's that one gone. And then we'll have a look at taking the joystick off. Now, the best way I found when I took it off on that one, I put my finger on the back of it and my thumb here, and I just heat up the pads can feel it going. There we go. It's popped off like that. So they've just popped up. Let the solder cool. And if we move it round, I got it like that, and we do the same on this side. There we go. They've popped free. Let's put the iron down for a sec. And we should, if I'm lucky, just be able to lift this out now. There's something there's a tiny little bit of solder between that middle pin there, just still holding it. So I think if I go in, just heat that pin up and lift it, I think we should be free. Come on, let's try. Just press on the bottom and I'll just try heating that. It's only that one, you see, I think. There we go, that's free now. There we are, it's out. That's the little thumbstick, same as the other one. I'll have to get a little bit of solder braiding on there, I think, and just wick up a little bit of the excess solder off there, but I'm happy with that so far. We'll pop that off the back, so we don't want to risk it. I mean, I think it's silicone, so it shouldn't melt, but we don't want to risk it melting, and we are going to have to make some solder connections to the back here. In fact, is that exactly the same? Oh yeah. Yeah, because on this one what I decided to do, I found a ground point in the centre there, so I don't have to solder a ground to each of the points. I can use a common ground. And where you can see that little bit of red mark is where I need to actually solder the wire for each button. So I can use that as a template as I work on this one. Right. So I suppose all we've really got to do now is to take the reset switch off, take the AV socket off, and we're ready to fit this board into its new enclosure. So I'm going to take those off using hot air, I think. In fact, I'll just see if I can find my tweezers to make this a little bit easier. Couldn't find my tweezers, but these will be good enough, because all we want to do is be able to lift that off when we've got the solder at the required temperature. So no time like the present, we might as well go for it. I'll get in there, just let the temperature come up. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. Not quite there yet. This actually came off there we go. It actually came off the other board a lot easier, that. Right, while we're in here, we might as well do that switch as well. And there we go, that's the switch off as well. Just get that out of the way to cool, and we'll just let the board cool down for a second. And scorch my bench slightly there. Yeah, I can't see we've moved any other components on there. In fact, let's have a look on the other one. Just make sure we haven't knocked a resistor off or anything while we was doing that. I don't think we have. No, everything still seems to be in the correct place. I think we got away with that. Right, I'll just pause you while we get set up, and I'll get the box, and then we can actually start wiring this into the new box and see if we can actually get this thing working. So back in a sec. Okay, right, as you can see, we're set up. We've got the actual housing here now with all the controls in there. As you can see, I think the first thing I'm going to do is wire the control buttons up. So you've got fire 1, fire 2. What are they all designated on the front? Let me just grab the front. That'll make life a bit easier for us. Or maybe not. Where's the instructions? There's the instructions. That should tell us which each. Yeah. So we've got our A and B buttons, so we know which ones our A and B buttons are. Then we've got T and start. T I'm going to have as the third big one, and start I'm going to have as the smaller button at the top there. So we might as well start with those. Now we'll turn this over. If you can notice, I've actually, just off camera, I've actually just tinned up all the points where I'm going to have to solder these wires to this. Let me see if I can zoom you down a little bit, see if you can see a little. Oops, wrong way. I'm very, very good at going the wrong way when I'm zooming the camera, aren't I? Right, so as you can possibly see here, I scratched away a little bit of the solder resist there, and put a solder point there. That's what I'm going to use as my ground point. And then each of the points which I showed on the old board, I think it's underneath this, so I won't delve for it now, but basically I copied that and I just tinned up each of them points where I can solder the actual wires, you know, obviously go to the fire positions. And I used a bit of ribbon cable that I had lying around for this. So basically what we need to do is we need to solder all these, the correct ones of course, into the correct places. So let's figure this out now. The longest wire is going to be the button that's furthest away from here, the way that I did it. So that'll be the one that's nearest the ground. So that there I think we'll have as button 2, and we'll have that one there as button. You can't actually see what my fingers are doing here, can you? I'll zoom you out a little bit. Woo! There we go. Right, sorry. That's our ground wire, that one. Now the next wire along goes to the first button up there, and I think that's what we'll have as our A button. So that'll be the A button, and the next wire along there will be our B button. So we might as well we'll solder our ground in first. That'll be the easiest one. I've already tinned all these up to make life a little bit easier as well. Let's grab the soldering iron, and I think we'll solder the ground wire on first. Or in fact, we might solder the B button wire on first, because it's going to be easier to get to. So this is the B button. We're soldering to very, very tiny pads here. That's the only one problem with what I'm doing. Like I said, this was never designed to have other things connected to it, so the pads that you're soldering to are pretty minuscule, to be fair. So it's not something you'd really want to be taking apart, because you would risk breaking something. But like I said, I'm just doing this really for a bit of fun, to see whether I can make something out of one of these super cheap, crappy little consoles you can get. Okay, that one's soldered into position. Now we've got And the third one along is that button there. So that's the button that I said I'd have as T, isn't it? And T is actually, that works out perfectly, because T is that one there. I think what we'll do is we'll probably put the ground one in next. We'll stretch that out a little bit. I just need a little bit of more length on these. I've got to be incredibly careful I don't pull one of those wires free while I'm stripping them back though. We'll solder the ground on because that one goes right. Oops. Right to there. Like that. And we said that the T needs to go across and get soldered to there. Like that. And then finally, this is the button that goes to the what do they call it on this? Is it the start? Yes, the start button, which is the one right at the top here. So that's the final one that we need to connect up. Like that. So that is basically, that will lie flat down like that. Let's get these wires out of the way for now while we get all this sorted out. But basically that's going to lie flat down like that, and the board will sit in there exactly like that. Now I'm not going to film me connecting all this up because it'll make the video far too long. It's basically going to be exactly all the same type of thing as I've just done, only that the pads are a tiny little bit larger for the most part, so it's a tiny little bit easier. But what I will do, I'll stop the camera, and if I come into any issues or any problems, I'll start the camera again and I'll talk you through any little problems that I come at during the way. But hopefully I'll be back in a second. I'll have most of this at least connected up, and we can take a look and see what it does. So back in a sec. Okay, we're back, and I've got to say I've actually been on this for the best part of about 2 hours to actually get to this position. But if you look, I'll see if I can zoom you in. We've actually got, there we go, we've actually got the board mounted down. Now I haven't screwed it tight down for the simple fact there's components on the back and I don't want to risk stressing them. But I have got a screw in there and a screw in just at the back there, so it is held in two positions. As you can see, I've got all my wiring from the joystick. Basically, let me just turn you slightly so you can see what I'm pointing at. Oops, there we go. From the joystick, the wire coming down here goes underneath, and as you can see, it's connected to the up and down, and over there the left and the right. And if we look right at the back, you can see a ground wire there going in, and it shorts across those 2 points on the AV connector, which is what puts this into, like I said, the gamepad mode rather than torch mode. They've then got our composite video and our audio connected, so those are nice short wires, and they go straight to the AV out connector I've mounted on the back of the case there. We've got our power connected, so we've got our extended life battery, as we should say. We've got our D-cell battery there, runs down through a switch out and then into the board there, so we just leave the switch that's on the actual console permanently on, and we can use that switch on the back to switch it off and on. But I managed to solder that. This has been the hardest part. It was incredibly fiddly to do, but basically this blue wire here comes off the reset switch over and solders onto the board there where the reset switch is. So basically that's it. If you good, very, very tiny soldering. It's not too bad. If you aren't into doing incredibly tiny soldering, this is not a project I'd recommend. I quite enjoyed doing it, but like I said, I could see some people pulling their hair out actually trying to solder some of them pads, especially them two little pads for the reset there. But I suppose the only thing we've got to do now is test it, see if it's actually going to work. So let me zoom you out. Oops, I do my usual and zoom you the wrong way, and we'll try and get you up on my screen there. Hopefully you can see my screen there. Yeah, you can. I can get my my work light off and out of the way. In fact, I might just switch my yeah, that's going to make it a bit nicer for you, isn't it? Right. We will get I'll show you the there you go, we've got the in fact I'll put the light back on. I'll connect it all up and then we'll go up onto the screen, because it mightn't work. We never know, we could have done that work and have issues to sort out yet. In fact, I'm pretty certain we're going to have issues to sort out yet, but we'll connect the AV cable up. We'll connect this to the back of the unit. That's video connected. We'll connect our audio up. That's our audio connected. Right, so that's AV plugged into the back of the box like that. And we'll switch the square button is our on button. Yay! We're working. Now let's see if the joystick's actually going to do anything. Yeah. Well, at least we can move between Chinese and English. Let's see if select works. Select works. Alright, we need something we can in fact, I suppose we could use Arcanoid, because we know that up and down work, but we don't know if left and right work. So let's try selecting Arcanoid. That's a bit of volume. There's a bit of buzz there, but they don't look too bad. Oops. Yeah, we've got left and right. Oh, and that is so much nicer to control with. That's brilliant. Yeah, that having that nice micro switch joystick. Like I said, I know it's nothing. Oh, that's good. So it makes this crappy little thing actually quite nice and playable. Yeah, this isn't going to be an Arcanoid game game playthrough. Don't worry. Oh well, there we go. But yeah, that works. That works really, really nicely. So I'll get you down and actually show it. But in fact, let's we'll hit reset. Brings us back to the main. Brings us back to the main menu. Select English again. Let's have some Contra. Let's see what it's like playing Contra. I'll get you up on the screen. One player. I am hopeless at Contra, but I think it'll be a good. How do you get out of the water now? We'll go this way. I can't remember how to jump in Contra. Or we got a button not working? Oh, there we go. That was working fine. Well, that seems to be working alright. Anyway, there we go. You don't want to watch me playing Contra all day, but it plays alright, and the controller works. So I've achieved what I wanted to do. It actually plays really, really nicely. The button placement's fine for me. I'm quite happy with it. Like I said, overall, I'm actually really, really quite pleased with that. It actually does work the way I wanted it to work. I think I'm actually going to leave it here for now, because I've already made this video quite long, but I'll probably just do one more video on this, possibly seeing if I'm going to play it for a bit, to be honest, see if I come up with any issues with it, and see if there's anything I need to like really address on it, and then we'll possibly have a look at making, because I think that's quite neat. I'm blowing my own trumpet and everything, I think I've made quite a neat job of the inside of that. So I think I will make a plastic bottom cover for it, so you can actually see the insides of it. But we'll do one final finishing off video on this. But I've got a video to make in the beforehands anyway. A few people have commented about I don't make enough vintage computer content, but I have a vintage computer in from a fellow YouTuber actually. A 48k Spectrum in that needs a service and composite mod and what have you on it. So I'll probably do that as I don't know whether I'll release it as the next video or I'll do the video on doing this, just the final finishes on this yet, but I have got that video I'll be making this week. I've just got all my had to order a few more sets of capacitors. I was running out, so as soon as my capacitors come in, I'll get that video all filmed up and done. So there is something 8-bit and Spectrum related coming on the channel very, very soon. So hope you enjoyed that little update on the my pad-80 to a console conversion. Like I said, I will do one final video and perhaps just summing this up after I've had a chance to play it for a bit and perhaps go through a few of the games and what have you, playing it on a few different TVs and what have you. But I'm going to leave it there for now. I hope you enjoyed this little update on the project. So thanks for watching and goodbye.